All right, Middlecoff. April 1. No April Fool's joke. We are live on YouTube. Welcome. Yes, sir.
We're
We are
live.
here.
We're
I'm
live.
looking for the feed, but we're getting it started. This is the plan was just to be draft only, but then Aldon Smith signed, so we're going to talk about that as well. But welcome everybody.
We're up on
Yeah,
the YouTube.
subscribe
How's
to
it
the
going,
channel,
everybody?
like the video, give it the thumbs up, hit us with comments and questions, and we'll get to a lot of those.
You know what's funny? Kind of ironic, I guess, for me and you. Some people might be coming from all different places, all over the place, but you turn on NFL Network right now, and it's got the Harbaugh brothers in the Super Bowl. Kaepernick's could have thrown about 4 picks through the first 10 minutes. Joe Flacco's playing the game of his life, and the Ravens are beating the shit out of the 49ers.
We just did a rewatchables, and we did it's a YouTube and it's a podcast, and that was Saints Niners Week 14 of 2019. But we're trying to figure out what our next game should be. That'd be on the list. That'd be on the list. Now the thing with that game is it's hard to watch the Week 14 2019 game that we did, where it's 55 first half points, and then you're watching. We're at halftime here. This game gets good after the lights go out and the second half starts. Michelle Tafoya spends 45, or it wasn't Michelle Tafoya, Tracy Wolfson spends 45 minutes or however long it was trying to get somebody from like the power department to give her an answer on when they can turn the lights back on in the stadium. So I don't know if it would be the most compelling game to rewatch.
Yeah, I don't, in a weird way, I was working in the NFL at the time, so I wasn't as like locked in to the Niners. Their success had nothing to do with me. Even though I grew up a Niner fan, I wasn't really, I just didn't give a shit. I was actually kind of worried, like me and Chip, were we buddies at the time? Clearly we weren't. And I just don't remember. One thing I do remember, I was living in the city, and I went at halftime watching the game by myself at where I lived with Bobby, who owned the place, and he wasn't there, so I had the place to myself watching the game. I went to get a sandwich at halftime, and then I came back. There wasn't a parking spot.
Oh.
Guy, I drove around his place for, I swear to God, 40 minutes, and luckily the lights went out.
Yeah.
I think it ended up saving me, but I was like, am I just going to have to park in a red, and what am I going to do? And looking back, of course, John, the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. It's Sunday afternoon in the San Francisco, double whammy. You're going to leave? It was moronic. I don't think Uber Eats
there's
and
a sandwich
Grubhub
place like
existed
half
then.
a block from you. How did you not just go there?
I went to
but
Miller's.
you got in the car to go to Miller's.
It was in the peak of my
Great
Miller's
place. It's
Deli
now
eating,
closed.
and I
yeah,
really
but
wanted
you
a
could
Miller's
have.
Deli.
You know, halftime of the Super Bowl. A few
Miller's
years
Deli
ago.
closed?
Shut down.
It
I think
shut
the
down?
bar next door is owned by the same guy, still open. But you know, Super Bowl halftime's 35 minutes. You could have made that. I just
Yeah, I
tweeted
could
the
have.
link as well.
I wasn't super locked in. Again, I just didn't, in a different
Understood.
place.
Different world.
You know when you hear like people in the league, I don't even want, or players often say that. That's not necessarily true, but you kind of hate watching in a weird way.
There's just the only
don't
emotion.
know.
You're not going to feel joy. What emotion are you going to feel? Unless you're rooting for one of the coaches,
Yeah,
like Jim Harbaugh was rooting for John. Other than that, that to me is one of the great all-time conspiracy. Like, did Jim go easy on John?
They thought he threw the
They
game.
came back 21-3 right before half. So anyway, that's on NFL Network right now. How about before we get into this draft stuff, this news from less than an hour ago. I just put it up on the screen, John. Jay Glazer says that the Cowboys have signed Aldon Smith. $4 million, I think. Was that right? Or am I just reading 4-year absence?
I think I saw $2 million guarantee. That seems
this was not on my radar. Think about the amount in 2013, a year later after this Niners Super Bowl, you and me are doing a radio show together. What would you say from the beginning of 2014 to like 2016, if you did a word cloud of all the things we said the most? Harbaugh would probably be number one, right? Aldon Smith wouldn't have been. I mean, maybe Kaepernick would be two. Aldon probably would have been between the Niners and the Raiders, top 10.
Jed got
a lot. But
Yeah,
Aldon would have
he would
been
have got
Aldon. We dedicated a lot of hours to Aldon Smith.
Aldon had a stretch. Probably would have been 2015 when Tom Sula took over. Yeah, 15. So he takes over. Aldon gets the arrest, which reads like a terrorist attack.
Bomb, ba bomb,
Remember?
bomb, bomb, bomb.
Terrorist threats. Yeah, but there was the bomb, but there was also something in his yard. Remember when he was driving to his
it was
apartment
like
complex?
the neighbor's car got bumped or something.
Yeah, and then it turns out he like opened the door on him, said he was drunk, terrorist threat. It was weird. They cut him that day, and then probably less than a couple weeks. We were at Raiders training camp. Michael Crabtree, their new signing. We broke the news to Michael Crabtree. Ironically, Jack Del Rio signs him a week before the regular season. My timeline might be off. He played the opening weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. I remember that. Now,
it was like,
were
we out there on a Thursday or a Friday?
In the Raiders training camp?
No, the Thursday or
Yeah, it would have been like a Thursday.
That's right.
But I think he got signed. I think he got signed once we got to the regular season, like on a Wednesday,
right.
and he played Sunday.
Yeah.
Might have got signed. Sounds crazy, but he might have got signed Friday.
It was very tight. Was that the Bengals game?
It might have been Thursday, practice Friday, walk through Saturday.
That was the Bengals game, right?
Yeah, the massacre.
With their tackles, Andre Smith and Whitworth.
Remember Pac-Man took Amari's head and slammed it onto his helmet?
God. Raiders, other DBs just between that and Aqib Talib snapping the chain.
Isn't it kind of, I don't know about you, but like as I go into my mid-30s, like my memory sometimes hit or miss. I can remember things like that. Like, how can I remember Aldon Smith got signed on a fucking Friday and played on a Sunday? But I couldn't tell you
because
what I talked to my mom about.
You remember that moment. It was it was a momentous thing in your life. You, like I said, you spent more time talking about Aldon Smith than you probably realized.
You're right.
All right, so we wanted to dive into the draft, John. Yeah.
Wait, really quick, stay on all. Could he like have a season? I mean, would you bet against it? I mean, he is
4 years out of the NFL.
Athlete.
You're right. We should talk about him as a player for a second. I mean,
he's on the Dallas Cowboys.
We've talked about his rookie year a lot, and the second year really, as well. But 14 sacks and 19.5 sacks. That was 2011 and 2012. It's a long time ago. Now, there's a difference between, like, to me, if he's just on the
fresh
team,
legs,
if he's just an active player on game day, then he'll just make some plays. I mean, if he's good enough to be out there, that would be a pretty incredible story. I don't think anyone would have bet on that 4 years ago. So Jack Del Rio's like, I told you guys, you should have just held on.
You know who the defensive line coach is for the Dallas Cowboys?
Tell everybody.
Jimmy Tom Sula.
Well, that draft, the Niners draft back-to-back 2011, 2012. Or I guess 2010, 2011. Anthony Davis, Mike Iupati, these are just the hits. Navarro Bowman. By the way, Navarro does not get enough credit for being a third rounder, I think. When we talk about guys who should have had chips on their shoulders. Navarro Bowman, third rounder. So that was.
Well, it was something. I remember someone telling me, Penn State. That was when Joe Paterno. I think it was his last year before Sandusky. Very secretive with player information. There was something with a weed, some weed charge. He had gotten in trouble, but it turns out. Wouldn't you say like he was one of the higher character 49ers?
Anthony Davis, Mike Iupati, Navarro Bowman. The next year was Aldon Smith, Colin Kaepernick, Chris Culliver, Daniel Kilgore, Bruce Miller. Among the Mike Person was a 7th-round pick.
You know what's kind of crazy? When those core guys played a huge role, like in the 2 or 3 Harbaugh years. About a decade later, looking back, you got Davis quit just randomly. Iupati, actually, I think he's still going, but he had some devastating injuries. Aldon had some of the craziest NFL off the field situations we've ever experienced. Kaepernick, the whole kneeling, I mean, he's just become one of the most polarizing names in NFL history. Culliver once chased a guy down the street with brass knuckles. Bruce Miller beat up an old guy in the Embarcadero, did jail time. I mean, that group, Bowman, had one of the most tragic careers ever. It looked like he was headed to be a Hall of Famer. His knee snapped, never the same. Like Bowman and Upati were two guys that could have been great injuries. The other guys kind of just like resumes or just, if me and you tried to script it for playmakers, it would be hard, right? You'd be like, no, man, are you serious? This guy gets blackballed from the league. This guy beats up an old guy. Yeah, no, he does. The guy runs a 4.3. You're telling me he chases a guy on a bike with brass knuckles? Yeah, I'm telling you, he does. I don't know how the guy got away somehow, but he chased him. The Bruce Miller
and the
beating
son.
Up the old guy.
Remember, he banged on their door. They just opened their hotel door, and they got their ass kicked. Remember, he was covered in blood, and he got into it. Well,
yeah, it was bad.
So, anyway, you're right. It should be a 30 for 30. All right, John. April 1st, we're doing this live. The draft is 3 weeks away. The draft is 3 weeks from Thursday. And, we actually have been talking about maybe doing it live here. The Saints, I'll put the photo up. The Saints are going to be doing it from Dixie Brewery. Not the Saints watch party, the Saints. Sean Payton, his squad. You know what? Since you got one of those, what do you got there? Let me get one out of the
I was going to
here.
make a vodka, but then I realized vodka's not the happiest alcohol, and in mid-Corona, you need a Modelo, a margarita.
You got a margarita?
I made a little margarita.
We should have some nachos.
I have a little margarita juice, so I put a little tequila, and I just,
All right. So,
is this what Sean Payton's
I hope so.
doing
Like a hoodie.
Did you see Florio's article that shelter-in-place orders, those aren't legalities, right? If you and me get 20 people and we're walking around, they can't legally do anything.
As far as I know,
correct?
they cannot.
But they can shut down businesses that are open that are not essential, I think. There's a difference there. Because he wrote something that, what about the different states with the different rules if the states that are extreme, and I didn't have the energy to comment, but it's like, Mike, these aren't
you're talking
legal
about the brewery
martial
thing.
law here. No, he was talking more about some of the teams want to do this in the draft room where there are rules in states that have these shelter-in-place orders that with more than 10 people.
Just give the politicians some sweet tickets for the kickoff. Let them come hang out in the draft room.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be a little complicated.
Well, Roger Goodell wants to hear nothing of your complications, John. The NFL's been like, draft is happening. You guys figure it out. Just know when you're on the clock, you better get a pick in.
What do you think about adding a little time to help?
How long does the first round usually take? 3 hours?
I thought it's 10.
But I mean, what's like
10 minutes
in total? Pick. Yeah, okay.
I thought it was like 5
so I think they should do 15 minutes.
Because remember, the second and third round get bumped down to like 7 minutes.
I think they should do, if it's 10, give everybody an extra 5 just to compensate for, just maybe Zoom. You're using, everyone doesn't have all their phones connected, everyone's sitting around, the whole thing. So, give them 15 minutes, and why not? You've got a captive audience. We're not going anywhere. So, I think they should do it. Is there any reason you see you've been in drafts? Like, any reason not to do it?
Well, there are a lot of guys in a lot of these rooms, and I think people are used to everyone having a role. Like, this guy's my value guy. This guy, hey, Middlecoff, what was the character write-up on this guy? Just everyone kind of has a role and is just ready. I think spreading it around makes it a little more complicated. Here's my issue. My consistent take has been, if you're a general manager, and Roger Goodell, before he told everyone to shut the fuck up, but when he just said, listen, guys, we're doing the draft, before he kind of laid down David Stern the law, you just gotta go with it. There's no reason to complain. This is hard. But I don't mind people behind the scenes just saying, listen, we'll do it, but I think it makes a lot of sense to push it back 3 weeks, a month. Like, if you gave every team the opportunity to vote, yes or no, should we move it back a month?
Not one team would vote yes.
Do you think it'd be unanimous?
Yes.
Do you think it'd be unanimous 32-0? if the GMs voted. I do think the owners,
They recognize an
because
opportunity.
like, I listen. Coward has a good take that the NFL doesn't give a shit about social media. This is about their business, and the networks right now. NFL Network, which they own. Doesn't Fox now simulcast the draft? They have the last couple of years, right? The first round with Troy Aikman, remember, became a part of it the last couple of years. They've
They
kind of
take
merged.
the NFL Network feed,
I think
you're
Fox
saying?
does the draft. Yeah, I think they do a dual one because remember Aikman was there, and then some. I remember them kind of merging. So I think you got NFL Network and Fox merging. You got ESPN, who this is a big deal for them. Which was it last year they were on ABC? Remember? Like it's kind of blew up in the last couple of years. These networks, guy, they're replaying old Super Bowls, and it kind of actually feels cool. Like they're not in a good spot. They don't have anything to show. I would imagine these networks desperately want to get the draft going, right? How would they not? It's just incredible content.
I always say this about championships. It doesn't matter who wins as long as somebody does. In terms of a playoff, to the networks, it doesn't. You whiff on Jerry Jeudy, you get Jerry Jeudy. They don't care. Jerry Judy's getting drafted. That's what they want. So I understand why the NFL is not listening to the GMs.
And this is where I understand when people go, listen, we need a distraction. Because the draft, when I hear the word, like, it's hope. It's not hope. Like, it's a distraction, which is a good distraction. It's really fun. But then we go back to our normal lives, even when you work in this. But if in the fall you realize, God damn, our second rounder can't play, then you're furious at
and
your
GM
GM.
says, "Don't blame me."
And then the media is shitting on them, and it's just one of those situations where you're putting these guys in just weird spots where the number, like, let's say, like you said, they'd vote 32-0 to move it back. The one thing we know about the NFL, it ain't a lazy league. Guys want to work. These guys live at the office, so they have no problem working. I think their issue right now is like, listen, think of every business in America right now. You'd argue a first round pick. You could argue the first and your second round pick in an NFL season, like in a calendar year, is one of your most important. Obviously, the games are the most important, but in terms of acquisitions, they're probably your most important acquisitions in theory, right? Because they're going to be on your team if you nail the pick for a long period of time. Most businesses are doing their most important acquisitions over mid-corona. That's what you're asking the NFL to do. Where in free agency, looking back, it was easier, right? Because the wheels had been set in motion. The combine had already happened. Deals. It's like, oh, the tampering period started on Monday. Oh, yeah, sure it did. I saw the Bucks, like Jason Light was like, the first time we could ever talk to Tom Brady on Monday morning. Like, okay, guys. But the draft, because of how important free agency comes first, you kind of just, you don't put it off.
You build in time to catch up.
You have
to prep.
Yeah. And to meet with
Well,
guys.
I mean, I think the counter would be, hey, look, the film is the film. The combine happened. It is going to suck. And this is probably hasn't been as much a conversation. It's going to suck. It's not the first round that's the issue for these guys, right? It's the guys who they have to go to their workouts. It's the 5th round pick. It's the guys who they maybe instead of the top of their board as 5 guys they love, well, what happens in the 5th round? Now you're splitting hairs, and I would imagine that's where a workout or a personal meeting comes into play, more so than the first round. The first round is where we're going to talk about it all, but that's where I wonder if they're really if they're really bothered. It's like we've seen Jerry Jeudy run. We've been our scout down there has been talking to Alabama people for 2 years about Jerry Jeudy. That he's talked to the strength coach 5 times.
To me, it's the guys in the 2nd and 3rd round with medicals and stuff that you were just never able to talk to or see.
You put out a mock draft the other day of first 13 picks on The Athletic. People put it up on the screen here. People can go find it. And among the things we talk about on there or that you wrote, one of the things we did a video on previously that you can go watch was Tua's going to go 2, we think. That is the official opinion of Ham, and you had him 2. I thought one thing, though, can I address one specific pick in this draft, in your mock draft? Do you know,
You're on the
which
mic.
pick I'm
Fire
going to
away.
ask you about? Jeff
No.
Okudah at 7. So this was the Middlecoff mock. Was Chase Young was Tua at 2, Burrow, Chase Young, the Giants going with Isaiah Simmons, Washington having traded back so they could get a tackle, the Chargers taking Herbert, and then bam, all of a sudden Jeff Okuda's just sitting there at 7.
Well, to me, there is a domino effect. If Tua goes 2, the Lions then would have to take Chase Young. The wild card would be the Giants. If they take Isaiah Simmons, guy, you have the Washington Redskins, who I would imagine Trent Williams is traded during the draft. You're not going to trade a corner, right?
Yeah.
Or you're not going to take a corner right there if you're Washington. And what does Ron Rivera have a history of doing in Carolina? James Bradbury wasn't a first-round pick. Josh Norman wasn't a first-round pick. Like, he's actually developed a lot of late-round picks on his defense at corner. Same with Del Rio over his history as a defensive coordinator. Chris Harris, undrafted free agent when he was in Denver. I think you take the best tackle on the board to fill in Trent Williams. And when I think the Washington Redskins, if they did that move, like a trade back, people are like, oh my God, how could you get rid of Chase Young? Well, what if I get another first rounder and another high second rounder, and I go, I'm going to get a star left tackle, I'm going to get another starter at another position, and I'm going to get another starter in the second round. Would you rather have a star left tackle and 2 starters, or a star corner?
A star left tackle and 2 starters. My question is this. So the Panthers are sitting there at 7. You know, in theory, maybe they think it's time to win now. Could the Niners get to 7 and take Jeff Okuda? I would imagine they wouldn't be the only ones trying if the Panthers were like, if he's there at 7, I think it'd be a lot of teams pretty interested. So would you go 13 and 31?
I would do no trading.
You wouldn't do 13 and 31 to go get the best corner?
No. So you just get Okuda and then you get no picks till the 5th round?
I think, though, that 31 probably gets traded back. We didn't get that far in your mock draft, but
would you do 13 in next year's second round pick?
Yeah, I would.
I probably would do that too.
You know, you hope that
then you'd probably have to use 31 to trade back.
Yeah, which you might do anyway. Trade back and still get a receiver potentially. So anyway, but
you're also at 31 to trade. You're at 31 to trade back. You're kind of hoping there's a guy that's fallen, because there is a chance that no one wants to do a deal with you at 31.
I think there's going to be enough receivers that someone will jump up for whoever.
Well, that's what.
Yeah,
what
I mean,
the
they
Niners
could.
Taking a receiver
Yeah, no, there's no doubt.
I do think, though, there are going to be a lot of, in the top 10, a lot of tackles, defensive linemen, Isaiah Simmons, Okudas. There are going to be a lot of wide receivers taken between probably pick 11 or 12 and like pick 25. I'm talking like 7. Everyone's like, it's a deep receiver draft. I agree. They're going to come flying off the fucking board.
Well, you've got a scenario where Judy.
To me, what if this happens? What if Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw, one of the top defensive tackles, ends up at 13? Do you just go, well, let's take a wide receiver at 31 and let's take this guy there?
You could argue or take. The problem is the second best corner probably isn't. The second best corner isn't better than Brown.
I'd have to ask around. What if you thought the second best corner, though, is a legitimate starter for a long time?
Then I would take a corner instead. To me, my Niners
part of the
board would
reason
be corners in terms of need would be corners at the top. A corner at the top.
One thing they've proven, though, this year is Richard's a stud, but they got by with the other corners are pretty average cover guys because you dominate up front. So you just go, we kick your ass with our defensive line. Look at the Chiefs.
Buckner's
Chiefs
gone.
have won how many games in the last 2
Buckner's
years? They can't
gone.
cover
In
anybody.
theory, you got to replace that somehow, somewhere. Would you rather do it with another defensive tackle or a corner? I'd rather do it with a corner. I'm saying, would you rather, if you're going to add something just to help make up the greater whole of your defense, would you rather get another defensive tackle in or go with a corner? I'd rather go with a corner.
Yeah, unless you thought that the upside of one of the defensive linemen was Pro Bowl in the corner, just a solid starter, because then you go, well, what if we could trade back 31 and take another solid corner in the second or third round?
31. Maybe the gap between the second and third best corner and the third best corner is there at 31 isn't that big.
Well, this is what's hard about the draft is you kind of It's why the power of a pick is so much stronger than the power of a player. Because we talk about everyone
Yeah.
like we're just throwing around names. Imagine like 3 years, you're like you just talked about that guy like he was going to be a 10-year
Right.
starter, and he's a bust, right? It's just it happens in basketball and football. The power of the pick, like you'll give me your. What if the 13th pick's their worst pick since AJ Jenkins? Just for whatever reason, it could be even out of the guy's control. He just
Well,
gets hurt in rookie minicamp. Or, I guess there's going to be no rookie minicamp, but
I just put up
you just never know.
Bucky Brooks's Warren Buffett blue chip prospects. Warren, who, by the way, at last check, John, is worth in the neighborhood. And I don't know what the recent market has done to old Warren, but he was about $90 billion before Corona. He has Derek.
He could take a dip.
He has Derek Brown second on his blue chip prospect board. So do with that what you will. I thought what we would do, I could throw what I think the biggest storylines are 3 weeks out. Or at least what they are to me. They don't have to be anybody else's. But you tell me, too high, too low. All right, I'll give you a draft storyline, and you tell me if this is number one for you or if you think you'd go with something else. I have 3. All right? Number 1.
God, it is kind of crazy.
3 weeks,
the draft
man.
Isn't that far away?
Number 1, Tua's health. And not just Tua's health, but how are people going to find out about Tua's health and get accurate information about Tua's health?
But I don't think we're not going to learn anything in these 3 weeks. I just think he's going to get picked really high, and we won't know till they enter.
Okay, so then this is actually the thing about the draft because I think you're right. Ultimately, he's getting drafted pretty high one way or the other. For me right now, what I would love, if you told me I could have one answer to something that happens in the draft, I just thought of that question just now, so I think this is my answer. Who is the 4th team to take a quarterback? Like, not who is QB4. Is it Jordan Love or is it Jake Eason? That is less interesting to me than who is the 4th team to take a quarterback. Because we've gone through the list before, Middlecoff. Like, after the Chargers, you have Carolina. And then you go, who are the obvious quarterback drafting teams? Is Jacksonville's not? Are the Raiders going to take a quarterback? Are the Patriots going to take a quarterback? Or the Vikings? Would they? Or the Titans? Like, is one of these teams that has a quarterback that they just signed, but we don't know if he's their.
Would you take a quarterback if you're the Raiders after paying Mariota $8 million and
I wouldn't.
having Derek? To me, it's like the Packers, the Patriots, a team in the 20s. If Jordan Love falls, which he might,
Packers sneaky at 30.
Fall, like to me, Jordan Love going in the 20s is not a fall.
Agree.
Like he's just.
But they're just not.
But
like Jacksonville has another pick in the 20s, so that if they didn't take one, there's not that many teams. You've said this for a while now. Like, it's great to say there's all these quarterbacks. Who needs quarterbacks? But then when you really break down the list of teams that needs quarterback in a given moment, the list usually isn't that big. Cam is still out there too, so I don't know. That is interesting. Is New England taking a quarterback in the first round? It's probably the simplest way to boil that down.
I would lean no. I'll be shocked if they take a quarterback. You saw this. They just cut what's his name today, Cody Kessler. I think they're just going to go into the season with those 2 guys.
So who's
Stidham and Brian Hoyer?
Taking the 4th
crazy
quarterback
as that sounds.
in this draft?
Yeah, it'd be a team in the 20s. The Packers, the Steelers don't have a pick.
Here's the team in the here's the 20s. Jacksonville's second pick is 20. Philly, Minnesota.
Is it crazy if you're the
No,
Titans
I don't think it is.
to take a guy behind Tannehill?
New England, New Orleans. New Orleans?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Sean Payton said today that we need, because you and I
out of the
talked
pocket.
about it.
Kaepernick on the move. Looking. Bullet for 6 yards. Sorry.
Delaney. Walker? What were we just talking about? Oh, the Saints. That Sean Payton admitted that Taysom Hill can't be a backup. Because he does all this other shit. It's like you can't have your backup break his collarbone on a fullback dive, right? I mean, or it's like our backup quarterback broke his leg covering a kick. You're like, what? But that's Taysom Hill's everywhere. So you got to have a third guy. But to me, they are. I think Sean Payton said somewhere, people were tweeting at me that this might be Drew Brees' last chance to win a Super Bowl. Like this team, I don't know if he said it like seriously, but he's like, yeah, this is going to
He
be
has
as
been
good of a
doing a lot
chance.
of
Like, we're
interviews
running out of time
today.
here. Yeah, so I just think that Jordan Love to them, and who were they? They were king of Mahomes. They were going to draft a quarterback the last couple years. I think they like Baker Mayfield. They've just kind of been floating around, and Drew's just been good enough to not get rid of that you just wonder, does he just say fuck it? Now, that wouldn't you need him to drop because they what got drafted in the or they're drafting in the 20. They lost in the first round.
I'm just, you're right. I'm going to put this quote up here from Sean Payton for everybody to see. It was on Get Up. See, I didn't even know. I knew he was on with Eisen. I knew he was on with Glazer. But this is from Get Up. Payton was asked what role he envisioned for Taysom Hill, and he said this: the unique situation with our team and with our quarterback, Drew Brees, is he's announced he's coming back for his final season. Is that like a Chuck Rhodes power move? Trying to bully Drew? We watched that game. Drew, I don't know. Drew could play. If I told you in 3 years one of these two quarterbacks is in a Pro Bowl, Drew Brees or Tom Brady, wouldn't you pick Drew Brees based on what you saw from him this year? Tell everybody his touchdown interception ratio again.
It's 27-4. When did Drew Brees say
I don't
this
know.
was his final season? Like was Sean Payton putting words in his mouth?
I don't know.
Well, Drew Brees, there's a chance Phillip Rivers is done. Like, there's a chance Phillip Rivers isn't any good. So I would say Drew Brees. I thought the Saints were good this season. I would expect them, if Sean Payton doesn't and Mickey Loomis don't get super wasted at the brewery during the draft, for them to be pretty good.
Man,
Actually, kind of a genius idea. A little support local.
it is. I guess you're going to have the employees there. Are the employees going to be the ones leaking the Saints pick?
Employees of the brewery or the
Like,
Saints?
is the server going to have the tip?
Well, no, we're in quarantine, guy. It's just
There's
they're
not
going
going
to
to be a
open
server.
it for
They're
them.
not going to be eating. They're just going to be sitting in the room.
Well, yeah, I just
They're just
think
using
that
the
they're going to be.
space.
I mean, they're going to have it open.
Is the chef going to be there? That's what I'm asking. Is there not going to be a bartender?
Yeah, no, I think they'll open it for them, but I think I don't unless the Saint or the South isn't the entire country quarantined, or we just or some states more. I can't even follow what's going on.
What else we got? Draft storylines. I mean, first rounders. That's going to be a big one. How about Aldon? By the way, this is not a draft storyline.
To me, it's just pretty nuts, but it's also very fitting. Goes to the Cowboys.
I'm sorry, I said Aldon.
Like,
I meant
just-
Antonio Brown. I just put it up. Multitasking.
Oh,
his
did Antonio work?
I forgot Hollywood
At
Brown
first-
is his cousin.
Yeah, to me, I thought it was crazy. Then you realize his cousin plays with Lamar Jackson. It's not that crazy at all. Is he in the league week 1? Because I think there are enough crazy coaches that it's hard to just discount him. If Aldon Smith
4
can
years
come
later.
back, Antonio Brown. but Aldon had
AB's
2
issue
years.
still
Antonio
pending?
Brown had 6 years.
The harassment case or the sexual assault case?
I mean, is Aldon still pending? Like, is Aldon?
I don't think so. I think that's all taken care of. So, biggest draft storyline 3 weeks out. What you got? If it's not Tua's health, if it's not which is the fourth team to take a quarterback, if it's not how many receivers go in the first round.
It's a hell of a question. I would say, does Odell Beckham get traded? I've gotten a couple texts from people that said keep an eye on Odell Beckham Jr. and the Cleveland Browns getting rid of him.
They're not getting are they getting their first back? They could at the end of the first round.
Well, I'd trade pick 31 for him.
Talk about holding out for better value. How about pick 27? You know who's pick 27? Seattle.
Could they trade for Odell Beckham Jr.? That's a hell of a question. I don't know.
31 in a heartbeat, John. 31 in a heartbeat.
You do 31 for OBJ?
Yeah, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know if the Niners would though. I think last year
I
was not
understand,
ideal
but
for
it's
him.
like when there's value that just falls in your lap.
That's pretty risky at this point in time. I used to love
That's a
him,
good
but I
that's
don't
a good
know.
draft rumor though.
He's but I
Okay.
heard just keep an eye.
Keep an
Just
eye.
keep an eye.
I like it.
I mean, if Stephon Diggs can get traded for pick 21, then who knows?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If Stephon Diggs getting traded for pick 21, then the value is just too good to pass up.
Yeah, but he's a little less. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Diva's a diva.
I gotta dive into some. Judy Ruggs and Lamb. Would you say you watched Lamb the most this year? I mean, even though you probably watched every Alabama game too.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
watched
I saw
all
the
of
most
them.
of CD.
He was just the thing with Alabama. They had four guys. You know, the other CeeDee Lamb. Once Marquise Brown went pro, they just fed him the football. So the thing is, at Alabama, it's easier to like judge them against sweet defensive backs. At Baylor, or I mean at Oklahoma, they're just playing, terrible defenses. Terrible. Now the guy's really good, but I get nervous a little bit sometimes. Just Big 12 players in general. That just it's easier to go. The Alabama guys translate. Just look at Amari. Amari's an underachiever, and he averages 75, 1,000, and 6. Think about that. Amari is an underachiever and averages 75, 1,000, and 6. Julio, Calvin
Underachiever
Ridley.
making 20 mil.
They're going to have multiple guys this year. Yeah, he's an overpaid underachiever, but the thing with Amari, there's no disputing his elite talent. Like Jerry Jeudy, people are kind of going back and forth. Like, is he good enough? Is he not good enough? Well, I know he's really good. To me, it's going to come down to his makeup. Amari's a better talent than Jerry Jeudy. Like, Amari was a no doubt about it top 5 pick. And even looking back, it's like, yeah, he's made 3 Pro Bowls. And it's like people still don't, he's not quite good enough. Because I think the bar for Amari was like,
yeah,
just
not Antonio Brown,
I mean,
but
it was
changed
just
the game like the best receivers in the game do.
I think like 5 or 6 100+ catch
Some
seasons,
people
right?
called him a Hall of Famer early. That was me.
Was that you?
Hey, he was on the trajectory.
Yeah, he was. I think the thing that separates receivers is just once you have like the elite talent, is are you just a dog? Look at the like you watch Michael Thomas where we watched that game. I think Debo has it. Now I don't know if he's going to be as good as those guys, but Devontae, Julio, the Tampa guys, Keenan Allen, these guys are just fearless. Antonio is nuts, but he was fearless nuts. You got to be kind of
Sean
crazy to
asks,
play
who do you
receiver.
think the Raiders go after in the draft? Beyond the number 1 pick, is the Raiders taking a wide receiver the biggest lock in this draft right now?
Yeah. Someone at the combine told me don't be shocked if they take 12 and
Fine.
19 both receivers.
I mean,
Yeah,
would
it's
you
not
be
that
that
crazy.
anti that? Given that receivers are 50-50 anyway, you might as well assure yourself of getting one starting receiver.
I'd have to go back and look. That it feels like it'd be unprecedented, right? 2 first-round receivers in the same draft. A good stat I read on this Jerry Jeudy SI article was that from 1968 until 2011, Alabama had never had a first-round wide receiver. That year was Julio.
Wait, say it. Sorry,
Amari,
sorry. From
Calvin
98
Ridley,
to 11?
No, 68. So you just think about the program.
Wow. And now you look at just a big board, and it's nothing but Alabama guys. I mean, it really is crazy. So since then, how many first-rounders have they had?
I feel like I'm missing one. They've had Julio. They've had Calvin Ridley. They've had Amari. They're going to have 2 guys this year. They're going to have 2 guys next year. I mean, Saban's going to have 5 in 10 years. Or no, not 5. He's going to have 3, 5. He's going to have 7 in 10 years. Just in the first round.
So let's go year. But now this is not all receivers. They had 3 overall first-rounders last year. Josh Jacobs, Jonah Williams, Quinnen Williams. The year before they had 1, 2, 3, 4, Fitzpatrick, Payne, Rashaan Evans, the linebacker, and Calvin Ridley. That's 18. 2017, they had 1, 2, 3, 4. Reuben Foster, O.J. Howard, Jonathan Allen, Marlon Humphrey. 16, they had 1, Ryan Kelly, the center. 15, they had 1, Amari. 14, they had 2, C.J. Mosley and Clinton Dix.
So they've had a lot of
13, they
players.
had 3, D. Milliner, Chance Warmack, Fluker. Yeah, I don't see another receiver.
Yeah, they don't. And then Julio was 11. So they've had
that's the crazy thing, is they're getting hot. Like Saban's getting hot.
Well, he just.
But
Changed,
what I'm saying
right?
is,
he went from being all defense to now it's like all offense.
we said this on the go.
Guy, he's going to have a quarterback and 2 wide receivers in the top 15. That would have been unheard
of.
If
his quarterback got drafted, he got drafted in the 7th round.
Yeah, he just pivoted.
Vernon.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Like this video. The people on YouTube say that, so like it. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, like it. Leave some comments.
And go watch the other videos. Tell your friends. Crabtree scored, John. We got a game. If you're watching this live, go to NFL Network, Niners, Ravens in the Super Bowl. I'm interested to see how this one plays out. And, yeah, thanks for supporting promo code HAM. Anything else?
We'll be around.
All right. See ya.
That's all I got.